Alright, we are live, ladies and germs, and, well, this is the last live review for 2021 here on The Fuel. And, well, the end of an era, quite frankly, as my phone lets me know that I am live on YouTube. Yeah, no shit. Thank you for that. But, there is a lot to discuss coming out of this race. You know, what we saw today, the ramifications of what took place, and what we can look forward to with the Gen 7 car. I think it's safe to say that 2021 was one hell of a ride. This is probably the first season in quite some time where I didn't feel completely burnt out by the end of this season, because it certainly felt like that the last couple years. But this season didn't really feel like that, and I think it's because of the fact that this was the season of parity. We had so many different winners in this season. I think there was like 16 in total during this entire season, which is absolute insanity. But of course, this season basically revolved around one man who completed his redemption arc by winning the race today. I, of course, am talking about Kyle Larson, and we're going to be getting into all that plus a lot more. There is so much to talk about from this race. Some stuff that's going on in the NASCAR world, and what to look forward to in 2022. So, for the final time this season, at least live, ladies and gentlemen, this is The Fuel. What is happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Fuel. And hey, look, I got my hair cut at long last. Well, considering that there is going to be a whole start word of changes coming up after in 2022, as far as the NASCAR Cup Series is concerned, I think it was rather appropriate that I finally got my hair cut for this occasion. This has been one hell of a season, to say the least. While it certainly had its ups and downs, it had some of its barn burner races, some solid races, some man races, and some turds, to say the least. But there's no denying that 2021 was probably the most interesting season of NASCAR in quite some time. Of course, it all started out with, the schedule. A crazy schedule change, at least from what we've been used to for about the last 2 decades, when the schedule was stagnant as all hell. let's just go back through and look at all of the different races that we had in 2021, because we had, I think, 6 new different types of races in 2021. Of course, it started with the Daytona 500. Then we went to the Daytona Road Course for a second time, since Auto Club was canceled once again, although it is slated to be back on the schedule next year. Then we went to the West Coast. Well, actually, after the Road Course, we went to Homestead, Miami. And then they did the West Coast swing with Las Vegas and Phoenix. And then there was the race at Atlanta, which was absolute garbo. But then we had the first of absolute game-changing races in 2021. The Bristol Dirt Race, which was the first Cup Series race on dirt since 1970, over half a century, which is just absolutely insane. You had Martinsville, Richmond, the Geico 500 at Talladega, which was alright. Certainly wasn't as good as the previous year. And then, of course, oh my god, this race. The Bushy McBush Race 400 at Kansas. Oh my god. I hope to god that is not the name of the race next year, because I will eat glass if it's the fucking name of the race next year. That race was garbo. And of course, was one of the dumbest examples of officiating I've ever seen. Then Darlington, it was back to 2 dates. The lone race at Dover that everyone thought was better than Circuit of the Americas, the very next race, and it makes me wonder, what the fuck is wrong with you? Dover was absolute garbage, and I'm honestly glad that they were only at 1 race, and honestly I wish it would just be taken off the schedule altogether, because Dover fucking sucks. It is probably my least favorite track on the schedule right now. Yes, even more than Texas. The aforementioned Circuit of the Americas, which saw the Cup Series' first true rain race, even though it was more like a monsoon. And you had the Coke 600. Then they went back to Sonoma for the first time in 2 years. Then you had the first ever All-Star race at Texas. It was alright for what it was. I mean, the format was just absolutely crazy with as many different, rounds that they had in that format, but it was alright. Then Nashville Super Speedway saw its debut on the Cup Series calendar with a 400-mile race. First time that track had seen action in over a decade of any kind. And it was not the greatest race in the world, but it wasn't totally crap. So we'll wait till, next year to see, if it starts to get a reputation for not so good races. The Pocono doubleheader, which was actually pretty solid this year. I mean, you had the craziness of the first race with Kyle Larson blowing a tire in the last turn, looking like he was going to win 4 in a row. Then Kyle Busch winning the second race on fuel mileage with a broken transmission, which was that was a WTF moment of epic proportions. And of course, Road America! The Cup Series makes its return to Road America for the first time in 65 years, which was way too goddamn long. I mean, especially when you consider just how many people showed up for that race. I mean, there were estimates that put the attendance for the race at 150,000, which is just absolute insanity. The race itself was alright. It wasn't a barn burner by any stretch of the imagination, but it was still a solid race. So, between that and the absolutely incredible attendance that Road America saw, I would say NASCAR, the Cup Series' first trip to Road America in over half a century, was a smashing success, to say the least. Then we had the second race at Atlanta. Don't know why Atlanta has 2 races. I think that's just kind of dumb. But, it is what it is. New Hampshire, it gave us a pretty good race despite the rain botch at the beginning by NASCAR. Watkins Glen made its return. Indianapolis decided to use the road course for this year. It was actually a damn good race for like the first 90%, and then the one curb just absolutely exploded. And oh my god, the end of that race was just such a shame. Ugh, what could have been. Michigan actually gave us a pretty good race for once, and then the Daytona, Cook 0400 to end the regular season actually gave us a pretty damn good race, even more entertaining than the Daytona 500, because the 500 was just boring this year. Then you had the playoffs with the Southern 500, Richmond, Bristol, which was, the Bristol night race was an absolute banger. Then you had Las Vegas, which was meh. Talladega, which was rain shortened, which also saw history in Bubba Wallace becoming just the second African American driver to win in the Cup Series, and the first time it happened since 1963. And you had the Charlotte Road Course race, which was pretty good. Then the round of 8, Texas was trash, Kansas was meh, Martinsville was alright. Of course, it had all, from Bristol to about Kansas was, when we had all the drama, and shit. And then Martinsville, well, yeah, a lot of beef coming out of that between a lot of different drivers. And of course, you had the season finale 500 at Phoenix today. So, one of the most diverse schedules I've seen in the Cup Series in quite some time was 6 new events. Those 6 being the Bristol Dirt Race, which was new, Circuit of the Americas, Nashville, Road America, the Indianapolis Road Course. I mean, it was absolute insanity, this season was, in a lot of different aspects. But that's what made it so interesting to watch, because, for the first time in quite some time, there was a diverse schedule, and, it tested these drivers in a wide variety of disciplines. Where you good on dirt track racing, short tracks. There was a large influx of road courses this year, and we're going to have about the same number next year. The only one that's not going to be on the schedule next year is the Daytona road course, but that was put in place to the California race since the California race got canceled due to the Rona. But we're still going to have the same number of road courses next year. But there's going to be a few minor changes, at least to the schedule next year. But the 2 biggest ones, though, for 2022, and I talked about this not too long ago, is the fact that the Clash is taking place at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum on February the 6th. That's going to be absolute insanity, because they had been testing the new Gen 7 car at Bowman Gray Stadium. I know Dale Jr. was there, Clint Boyer was there, testing the new car at Bowman Gray Stadium to kind of see how it would drive on that kind of track, because odds are that's the kind of track they're going to be racing on at the Memorial Coliseum. And the reaction was mostly positive, especially from Dale Jr.'s perspective. He said that there are a lot of things that this car did better than the old car. So hopefully the Busch Clash at the Coliseum is going to be one hell of a race. And they're going to do a little bit different, because usually the Clash was based upon the previous season's pole winners and previous winners of the Clash itself. Because this is such a unique event, considering that this is going to be the first time that the Clash has been held at a venue other than Daytona. Let's not forget that. Of course, last year we saw the All-Star race move to Bristol, and now it's at its new home in Texas. But this is going to be the first time the Clash has been held outside of Daytona in its entire history. So it's going to be held at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, which is probably going to be a quarter-mile bull ring. And as a result, anyone can enter. So I am going to be very interested to see how that's going to play out, because we've seen races at Bowman Gray Stadium in lower tier series, and the races there are usually pretty crazy with some, there's usually some fist fights and all that good stuff, and demo derbies and all that other shit. So it'll be interesting to see what the LA Memorial Coliseum brings. It's definitely a risk, to say the least, in NASCAR, but it is one hell of a venture to to go to the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. So that's going to probably be the most anticipated clash in its entire history, because it's a brand new venue inside an historic arena. Will it actually be successful? We don't know yet. Will it be a good race? We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns associated with the Memorial Coliseum, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. It's definitely going to, I think it's going to draw a lot of eyes, to say the least, because this is just so unusual. But the other event that's going to be added in place of a Pocono race, Pocono actually loses a date. So 4 of the tracks that I said needed to lose a date because their racing was just crap, Texas, Michigan, Dover, and Pocono, well, they've all officially lost one of their dates. All 4 of those tracks now just have one date on the circuit, although Dover moved one of their dates to a track that they also own, which was Nashville. So there's that. But there's still only one race at Dover, so there's that as well. But in place of Pocono, one of the Pocono races, NASCAR is going to be going to this track for the first time ever, at least in the Cup Series. They've been there as part of the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. In fact, I think the Truck Series currently goes there as well, and IndyCar also goes to this venue as well. And that's Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois, which is better known by its previous name, Gateway, the Gateway International Raceway, which is kind of a similarly shaped track to Darlington. It's basically kind of an egg-shaped oval, but it's 1 1/4 miles in length, and it's a pretty flat track. Will a flat racetrack produce, will this track produce good racing for the Cup Series? We don't know. Again, it's a major unknown, because this is the first time that the Cup Series is going to be traveling to this particular track. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. They're going back to the Indianapolis Road Course next year as well, although one thing I will say is they are toying with the idea of swapping back and forth between the oval and the road course to kind of keep things fresh. So we'll see how that works itself out. Homestead is back in the playoff. They'll be in the round of 8. Texas gets bumped to the round of 12, and as does Kansas. Las Vegas actually gets moved to the round of 8, and Martinsville keeps its spot as the final race before the Championship 4, and the championship race will once again be at Phoenix. So there is some changes going on as far as the schedule is concerned, but there is a lot more as well, like the car numbers being moved forward on the Cup Series cars, beginning in 2022, coinciding with the debut of the next gen car, or the Gen 7 car. Now, of course, they experimented with number placement by moving the numbers to the back on the quarter panels for the 2020 All-Star race, but it was definitely a polarizing issue. There were some people that thought that the car numbers should stay where they are. There were some that thought, yeah, the idea is pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to get too caught up in it. I mean, I'm not personally a big fan of it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it is what it is. So, I mean, I don't know if, I mean, the thing with the number, moving the numbers forward, they say that, you know, they want more space for sponsor logos and therefore more revenue for race teams. Well, they still gotta go and find sponsors to put in those spaces, so, you know, there's still the problem of that. So there's that to consider as well. But man, we've been talking for 20 minutes and I haven't even gotten into all the other opening stuff that I usually do. But this is our 122nd edition of The Fuel, as we finally get to that. And we will be reviewing the season finale 500 at the Phoenix Raceway. The title of this episode, I think, is pretty apt, to say the least. End of an era. because that's what it feels like in a lot of different ways. Because we're moving away from the Gen 6 car, moving into the Gen 7. And there's a lot of wholesale changes that are going to be coming for 2022, and we're going to be talking about all of that. First, let me check on something here. Kyle, who's the guy who runs the Spare Parts Request series, he just said, if I wasn't in my car with my wife and mother, he'd be a part of this as well. Because he was actually at Phoenix this weekend, I think for pretty much all the races, including the ARCA West series. So he got to see a lot of pretty good racing this weekend, including one hell of a banger finish in the Xfinity series, which we're going to be getting into all that. So there is that. Okay, that's interesting. So one of the guys okay, I gotta share this real quick, because one of the guys on the Discord for Spare Parts showed this picture of Ryan Newman. Look at him right there. Oh, that is funny as hell, dude. Oh, Lord. Yeah, Kyle said, if I had better service and wasn't in the car with wife and mom, I'd be there. So. Yeah. It is the end of an era for a lot of different reasons, to say the least. One second. Yeah, adjust myself here. This is probably going to be a long live stream, so I'd probably get settled in and grab some popcorn or maybe a drink, you know, that sort of thing. Sending out the invitation to any spare parts guys that are interested in maybe jumping in doing co-coms for this review, which Kyle said he wanted to, but he obviously can't at the moment for obvious reasons, because he's actually at the race. So give me a few more seconds here. So I do get co-coms for this review. Probably going to be on Xbox Live, because Discord's voice chat kind of sucks ass. Nowhere near as good as TeamSpeak, in my opinion. Drink. Strawberry lemonade, not from concentrate. Anyways, technical difficulties. Now I'm even knocking shit over here. I don't know if you can hear my cat, but being a little ornery tonight. Here, you want to say hi to the camera? Say hi to the camera? Say hi to the microphone? Say hi to the microphone. And what do you want, shithead? Huh? What do you want? Huh? Get off the board. Seriously. Alright. So, there we go. So if anybody wants to jump, if anybody's watching from Spare Parts, if anybody wants to jump in, Xbox Live Party is set up, so there you go. But cat, can you see I'm in the middle of something here? But kind of getting back into things here. There's one other thing I probably should do. Capture. No, that's not one. Video capture device. That's what I need. No, not Logitech. Game capture. And it should not. On over everything else. There we go. So I'll only have the game capture on for Xbox Live. Seriously, cat. What do you want? Huh? What do you want? This cat. I swear to God. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Alright, come on. Down. Down. That doesn't mean lay on the keyboard. Look at this cat. Like, what in the actual fuck, cat? Alright, so with all that out of the way, let's kind of go ahead and get into proceedings here, since we're already half an hour in. So basically, the biggest thing that came out of this was, of course, Kyle Larson winning the season finale 500 and completing his redemption arc. Of course, we all remember what happened a year and a half ago when he, dropped that racial slur on that live stream that he was a part of, which, basically caused all of his sponsors to just kind of treat him like nuclear material, basically. And it basically caused Chip Ganassi to basically have no choice but to release him from the team. And then NASCAR Of course, suspended him indefinitely for saying the racial slur. Now, you would be forgiven if you thought, myself included, that what happened last year and the fact that he basically had to give up a year of his career because of something that he said, you would have been forgiven if you thought that, that was pretty much the end of his Cup career, because, at this time last year, he did not have a ride whatsoever. And normally, when you miss a year, an entire year of your Cup career, most drivers don't recover from that whatsoever. So, the fact that, he was able to go through the right channels, basically, go through all he had to do to earn a second chance to compete in the Cup Series, and to get that call from Rick Hendrick to drive the 5 car, I thought was a pretty big deal. And a lot of people were still a little leery, especially sponsors, because Rick Hendrick basically had to fund most of the season, basically out of his own pocket, for the 5 team. But Kyle Larson quickly proved that in the right equipment, he is definitely the man to beat every Sunday. And he proved it this year with some of the absolutely ridiculous statistics that he put up. So let's go to Racing Reference and just kind of give you an idea of just how dominant his season was. As soon as I can get to it, because my computer is a little slow at the moment. Of course, I'm live streaming at the moment, so there's that. Come on. Of course it would get to that. So, 2021 standings. There we go. Alright, so to kind of give you an idea just how dominant Kyle Larson was in 2021, listen to some of these statistics. 36 total races for the season. He ended up with 10 victories, 20 top 5 finishes, 26 top 10 finishes. He completed 9,000 laps, which wasn't the most of the season because he did have a few races where he failed to finish. But he led an absolutely mind-boggling 2,581 laps. Almost 2,600 laps led. Like, that is insanity. The only one who even comes close is Denny Hamlin, and he led 1,500 laps. He had an average start of 6.1, although I think that was due to the formula, which I think, thank God, it's going away. We're going back to regular qualifying next year. Thank God. But Kyle Larson's average finish, 9.1. RAF. I don't even know what RAF is. But lead lap finishes. Denny Hamlin had 34. Kyle Larson had 31. Total playoff points. He had 68 total playoff points. Nobody else even came close to that. The one who had the second most playoff points was Truex, and he had 26. So, that just goes to show you how dominant of a season Kyle Larson had. And of course, he also won the regular season title as well. So, he basically did the same as Truex did, and Kyle Busch, winning the regular season title as well as the Cup title. And I think this is just going to be the first of many for Kyle Larson. I mean, this is just his first year at Hendrick, and he's already this dominant. Like, holy shit, dude. Ten wins in the 2021 Cup Series Championship. I mean, he was just absolutely phenomenal this year. But not just in NASCAR. He has also been absolutely incredible in his other favorite motorsport, dirt track racing. Just to give you an idea. Listen to these statistics, okay? 10 Cup Series race wins, 2021 Cup Series Championship, regular season title. But here's some of the other events that he's also won. He also won the All-Star race at Texas, the Chili Bowl, the Knoxville Nationals, and the Kings Royal. Three of the most prestigious dirt track races in the entire country. He won all three of them, including the All-Star race and the Cup Series Championship. I mean, what else can you really say at this point? What else can you say at this point that hasn't already been said about Kyle Larson? The guy is just, when it comes to just pure racing talent, he may be one of the best drivers in the entire world, bar none. Like, it's absolute insanity. Like, it's just absolutely crazy. You know, seeing all these races that he goes to outside of the Cup Series, you know, all these dirt track races, and for him to be just so successful in that realm as well, on top of him being successful in the Cup Series, it's just mind-blowing. I mean, it's the type of all-around ability that we haven't seen since the likes of, you know, AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti, those guys who seem to be good in any kind of vehicle that they stepped into. And then you have Kyle Larson. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible, this guy's talent behind the wheel of a race car. Seem like anybody's going to join. It's kind of a bummer. I was kind of hoping a couple people from StarCom would join for this one, but, you know, it is what it is. Ain't a big deal. But there were some other headlines that kind of took place over the past week or so leading up to tonight's race. Kyle Busch, he was one of those that were pretty pissed off at Brad Keselowski. Of course, the two had a little bit of a post-race schmozzle because Kes spun Kyle Busch out after the checkered flag going into turn one. And Kyle Busch apparently uttered the R word, which is the word that kind of describes mental disabilities. I'm not going to utter it here, but yeah, I think you can pretty much put two and two together. So apparently Kyle Busch uttered that during an interview referring to Brad Keselowski. He did apologize for it on social media, and NASCAR basically says that he's going to have to undergo sensitivity training, and he's going to have to complete it before the start of the 2022 season. Alright, fair enough. I mean, just let's be honest here. I mean, Martinsville, in terms of just the raw emotion that came out of that event, it was just absolutely insane. I mean, we usually see that kind of shit at Bristol, which we did. But Martinsville, I mean, it was, God, it seemed like it was tenfold. Because there were just so many people that were just pissed at each other. And this is one of those cases, and I think in this case, Kyle Busch kind of said something that he wasn't supposed to say, but he apologized for it. He's going to go on, undergo sensitivity training, and that'll be the end of it. So, I don't think this will be a big issue going forward. Like I said, I think it was just a heat of the moment kind of thing. Daniel Hamrick's car arrived late to Phoenix this weekend. So apparently what happened was the hauler that was carrying Hamrick's Xfinity car hit a deer carcass in Texas, which I guess caused some pretty significant damage. I don't know if it did like damage to the radiator or what the case was. I wonder if it actually tells it on here. Let me double check here. So let's see. It is up on. Looks like it is up on NASCAR.com. All right. So Daniel Hamrick's number 18 JGR car arrives late to Phoenix after hauler breakdown. So it says Joe Gibbs Racing's number 18 Toyota for Saturday's Xfinity Series Championship was a late arrival Friday at Phoenix Raceway, riding into the garage on an alternate trailer or an alternate hauler after the team's primary transporter broke down in Texas. The team quickly unloaded the primary car that Daniel Hamrick would drive in Saturday's NASCAR Xfinity Series finale. The team began its preparations shortly after its approximate 5:30 p.m. Eastern arrival. That prep included an initial technical inspection by NASCAR officials, and the car hit the track shortly after the 6:05 p.m. Eastern start time of the series long practice. So it basically got to the track about a half an hour before practice was set to begin. That was another thing that happened this weekend that we hadn't really seen all season long. Practice and qualifying. Wow, what a fucking concept, huh? According to a team representative, the number 18 crew used tools and other equipment from GGR's Arkham Menards Series West operation. That series will hold its season finale at the 1 Mile Arizona Oval Saturday at 3 p.m. So, before the Xfinity race. And of course, Hamrick was vying for his first Xfinity Series championship, despite the fact that he had not won a race. We'll get to that in a minute. Battling fellow title contenders A.J. Allmendinger, Austin Cindric, and Noah Gragson. He has made the championship 4 field in each of his 3 full-time Xfinity Series seasons. So there was that. Pretty interesting little deal. It just seemed like, you know, everything, I mean, it was like Murphy's Law was in effect for this 18 team this year. It seemed like anything that could go wrong could. You know, especially when you consider that Hamrick had finished second 10 frickin' times in the Xfinity Series up to this point, which is absolute insanity. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, let's get into the lower division championships first and foremost. Ben Rhodes won the Truck Series championship. He and Zane Smith was having a pretty good battle. Zane Smith was actually leading late in the race, but Ben Rhodes was able to run him down and pass him and take the championship. I think, oh shit, who won the truck race? The name is right on the tip of my tongue. He was an ARCA driver. He started racing in trucks this year. God damn it. I'm trying to remember what his name is. Chandler Smith. There we go. Smith actually won twice this year. He actually won at Bristol as well. And then he won at Phoenix as well. But, yeah, Ben Rhodes actually ended up third. But, of course, like I said, you don't need to win the race in order to win the championship. You just need to finish ahead of the other title contenders. So Zane Smith came up just 2 spots short. He was 2 spots behind Ben Rhodes. And then John Hunter Nemechek came home in third, and Matt Crafton in the 4th position. Of course, I think last year... Was it last year? No, Sheldon Creed was the champion last year. Matt Crafton in 2019 actually won the championship despite not winning a single race. And he also won the championship, I think it was 2014. I think that was the year he completed every single lap. No, was it 2013? It had to be 2013. Because Matt Crafton won the title in 2013 and 2014. So let's check the 2013 season. Yep, there it is. Yeah, Matt Crafton only won one race that year, but he completed every single lap that year, which was absolutely insanity. And then he wins the title in 2019 despite not winning a race, which was absolute insanity. But that wasn't enough craziness. Then we had the Xfinity Series Championship, and it had a crazy finish where the championship and the race win was decided in the last turn between Daniel Hamrick and defending champion Austin Cindric, with Daniel Hamrick coming out on top, finally getting his first career win. And what a time to get your first win. You get your first career win, and it's also the win that wins you the Xfinity Series Championship. That's what you call pin perfect timing, folks. God, I inhaled that too fast. But, well, what a way to overcome all the shit that they had to go through, you know, with their hauler arriving late to the track due to what happened with their transporter in Texas. You know, finishing second so many times, and for him to get that first career win, basically, you know, rubbing up against Cindric coming to the line, in a beating and banging photo finish to win his first Xfinity Series Championship. I mean, and then he did the backflip afterwards, a la Carl Edwards, which I thought was kind of funny. Especially considering that Hamrick's first career win came on the same day 5 years ago that Carl Edwards won his last Cup Series race. Found that to be kind of interesting. But speaking of the end of an era, this was also the last race for Chip Ganassi Racing, StarCom Racing, Ryan Newman potentially, and crew chief Todd Gordon, who's the crew chief for Ryan Blaney this year. Of course, Ganassi, they sold their Chip Ganassi sold his NASCAR team to Trackhouse, so they're going to get all the Ganassi assets as well as the charters. So Trackhouse going to two teams next year, obviously. StarCom is closing up shop. This was their final race. I think their team and assets have been sold as well. Ryan Newman, he's been in the Cup Series since 2002, so nearly a 20-year career in the Cup Series. Was the 2002 Rookie of the Year. Of course, former Daytona 500 champion from 2008. But this was basically his last year with Roush, and with all the other rides pretty much snapped up, Ryan Newman pretty much has nowhere to go, and a lot of people are speculating this might be his final ride in the Cup Series. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But for now, it looks like it's going to be the end of the road for Ryan Newman. And crew chief Todd Gordon, he's retiring from the Cup Series after 20 years, going into other ventures and stuff like that. So a lot of lasts coming out of this race as well. And also, the Gen 6 era comes to a close. This was the final race with the Gen 6 car. They're going to be transitioning to the new car, beginning at the Clash at the LA Coliseum, beginning in 2022. So that'll be pretty interesting, to say the least. And I think a lot of people are really looking forward to seeing how the Gen 7 car performs. If it lives up to its billing, can it produce good racing, you know, still keep the driver safe and all that good stuff. We'll have to wait and see what happens when it finally goes into action in 2022. And lastly, let's talk about the championship contenders a little bit here. All the title contenders were pretty much in the running in this race. They were all pretty much either 1, 2, 3, 4 or all inside the top 5 at one point. They were pretty much the best of the best in this race. And they gave it everything they had, and they gave each other no quarter. Like, they were literally going at each other tooth and nail for pretty much the entirety of this race. Now, the second stage was pretty dull, to say the least. A lot of things really calmed down around that point, but I would say the beginning and the end was really when things were really heating up between all four of these drivers. And pretty much all four of them gave it everything they had to try to win this championship. I know a lot of people are going to probably rag on Denny Hamlin for, and of course I made a video on this earlier, actually it was early Monday morning, when he did this tweet chain after a lot of people were reacting very negatively to his response after the whole Bowman incident. So here is the tweet chain in question. And of course, I already made a whole video on this earlier this. I made a quick video on this, you know, basically reacting to it and stuff. I basically told Hamlin that he better not choke away the championship, or this would come back to haunt him. Now, obviously, Hamlin did not win the championship. So, does that technically mean that he choked it away yet again? Not really. I mean, if he would have made a mistake on his own accord and, you know, screwed something up and was basically not a contender for the majority of this race, then I would say, yeah, maybe he choked it away once again. But I really don't feel like this was the case this time, because at the end of that race, he was definitely coming on. He was going to catch Truex and possibly pass him for the second position. I have a feeling that if this race would have gone on a little bit longer, maybe about 10 more laps, I think Hamlin would have gotten by Truex, and I think he would have been able to challenge Larson for the championship. So, I honestly think that, you know, despite, you know, Hamlin, you know, being his whamlin self earlier this weekend, he was also kind of talking about it, you know, in the lead up to this race, you know, during, you know, media appearances and stuff. Basically talking about how Bowman didn't call him back and said how that was disrespectful, you know, and all this other shit that he was talking about. And saying that he was glad that Bowman released some shirts that said hack on them. So Bowman was taking advantage of that. And said that, you know, I could help him out since, you know, he didn't really have any originality. I mean, I don't know why you still had that in your head, Hamlin, and obviously it affected you to some degree because, well, you didn't lead I don't think you led a lap this entire fucking race anyways. Even though you were in the top 5 for pretty much the entirety of it, I mean, you just never were able to get up there and compete and race for the win. Is that an indictment on Hamlin? No. I mean, there were just a couple of pretty crazy caution flags that happened at the end of this race that kind of, I think, kept Hamlin from the promised land. So, it really wasn't him that choked away the championship. It was more just bad luck. You know, good luck on Larson's part, too. So, there was that. But if Hamlin would have been in the lead and choked it away by letting one of the other three pass them, then yeah, I would say that that would have been choking away a championship. I don't feel like this was the case this time around. I know Hamlin is definitely not my favorite guy to talk about, especially after the last couple weeks, but I mean, do I feel like he choked it away? No. I mean, let's be honest here. If there was another 10 laps of this race, I think he would have been able to pass Truex and then catch Larson. I think he probably would have gotten around him because Hamlin had the best long run car of anybody. So, there was that. So I don't think Hamlin choked it away or anything. It was just bad luck. And besides, all four were pretty much contenders for a large majority of this race. There were a couple other guys outside of the championship core that were pretty strong. during this race as well, but for the most part, it was all about the championship 4, and for good reason. So, with all that out of the way, what do you say we go ahead and get into the review itself, since we're already an hour into this. I've just been rambling on about all kinds of different shit. But let's go ahead and get into the championship review itself. Got my notes here. So, 2021 season finale 500 at Phoenix. So, 312 lap race. Stages broke down like this: 75 laps for stage 1, 115 laps for stage 2, and 122 laps for stage 3. So Kyle Larson starts from the pole, an actual pole this time because there was qualifying, and this would actually end up winning him the race and the championship, because him earning that pole position gave him first selection for a pit stall, and he chose the very last one on pit road. That would come into play at the end of this race. We'll get to that in a bit. So Larson leads lap number 1, but Elliott takes the lead going into turn 2. For our first pure lead change, Liddy on lap 2. And then we had our first caution right away on lap 7 when Bubba Wallace gets cleaned out by Corey LaJoie going into turn 3. Corey LaJoie was a fucking weapon at the beginning of this race. He basically did the same thing twice, as I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And an interesting little move, Kyle Larson pits from second for tires and adjustments and restarts 34th. And even the guys in the broadcast booth were like, what the heck? You know, why would you bring Kyle Larson in, you know, after seeing what happened with Bubba Wallace? Well, it ended up working out in the end, because Elliott led on the restart. Larson restarted 34th, but was back into the top 20 very quickly, which showed what a fast car he had. But then we had our second caution on lap 15 when LaJoie does the same thing again in turn 3 and cleans out Stenhouse. But this time he backs himself into the wall while Stenhouse gets away with minor damage. LaJoie was able to continue, but he had a lot of damage and was pretty much off the pace for the rest of the day. That's karma if I've ever seen it. Most of the field comes in for service, while several other drivers, including Larson, stay out. So Larson restarts in the 5th position. Ryan Blaney also stays out and leads on the restart. Elliott, who was the first off of pit road with fresh tires, restarts 9th. Hamlin starts dropping back on the restart a little bit. Again, he didn't have a long run car, or he didn't have a short run car. It was more of a long run car. Elliott and Larson now for the 2nd position, and then Harvick is able to get by both Elliott and Larson, and then runs down Ryan Blaney for the race lead. Truex gets by Larson for 4th as his long run car begins to come in. And this was, I think, one of the best battles on the track during this entire race. The top 5 were within a second and a half of each other at this point. Truex gets by Elliott for 3rd, and then Harvick takes the lead in turn 3 for a second pure lead change of the day on lap 49. But then Blaney gets a run back by Harvick on the outside to regain the lead for a 3rd pure lead change on lap 50. But then Truex goes 3 wide with both Harvick and Blaney and takes the lead for himself for a 4th pure lead change on lap 51. So 3 laps in a row, 3 pure lead changes. Damn. So good racing so far at this point in the race. Hamlin gets by Larson for 4th, so all 4 title contenders were inside the top 5. There was a pretty good battle for 6th between Byron, Blaney, and Custer. And Martin Truex Jr. wins stage number 1. Everyone comes in for service, and Elliott wins the race off of pit road. So now we come to stage number 2, which was 115 laps. This was pretty dull, to say the least. Elliott leads the start of stage 2. Larson shoots the gap between Hamlin and Harvick for 3rd and makes it through somehow, some way. Harvick gets by Hamlin for 4th and then by Larson for 3rd once the run started going in. Long green flag run to start stage number 2. Very quiet stage so far, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Truex takes the lead from Elliott on lap 120 for a 5th pure lead change. Then we got our 3rd caution on lap 126 when Quinn Houff blows a right front tire in turns 3 and 4 and smacks the wall hard. This would be a common theme throughout the race. Seems like the brake heat was melting the beads on these tires, and that was causing a lot of tire failures. So everyone comes in for service, and Elliott wins the race off that road. So he leads on the restart. Then we got our 4th caution on lap 140 when Stenhouse loses the left front tire and pounds the wall in turn 3. The broadcast booth was suggesting that one of those rough transitions from the banking to the dog leg, to the apron and the dog leg, may have done something to the sidewall of the left front tire, which caused it to cut down. We don't know if that's actually the case, but end result is still left front tire goes down, boom, into the wall. Elliott leads on the restart. Battle for second between Larson, Truex, Hamrick, and Blaney, which was pretty good. It gets interrupted by our fifth caution on lap 155 when Briscoe has a flat left rear tire and backs it into the turn 3 wall. Couldn't really tell if it was from contact or not, or if he ran over some debris, but again, end result is still the same. I mean, and it was flat going down the back stretch. He tried to back it down, but there's no saving that car going into turn 3. No chance whatsoever. Everyone comes in for service, and Larson wins the race off pit roads this time, so he leads on the restart. Hamlin gets all the way up to third on the restart. He was actually dropping back a little bit at the beginning of this stage, but he gets it all the way up to third on the restart. Elliott tries to challenge Larson for the race lead, but is unable to get by him, and Larson wins stage number 2. At this point, the championship 4 were 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very uneventful stage. In fact, I was pretty much almost napping at some points during this stage. Everyone comes in for service, and Larson wins the race off pit road. So now we come to the final stage of the season. Stage number 3, 122 laps. This is when things really got interesting. So Larson leads the start of stage 3. The Hendrick cars pull away while the Gibbs boys try to keep up. Of course, the Hendrick guys had short run cars, while the Gibbs guys had long run cars. So obviously this race would fall into the Gibbs guys' hands if the race stayed green. So Elliott keeping things close with Larson with 100 laps to go. Elliott with a run under Larson in turns 1 and 2 for the race lead as Larson's car started to fade a little bit. So we had our 6-pure lead change on lap 236. Keselowski kicks off green flag stops on lap 142. Hamlin gets by Larson for second and had his sights set on Elliott for the race lead. And then Truex, surprisingly, was the first of the title contenders to come to pit road on lap 248. And then he had probably one of the luckiest caution flags that he'll probably ever have. The 6th caution of the day came out on lap 249 when Anthony Alfredo loses the right front tire and pounds the turn 2 wall hard. I mean, the angle he went into that wall was vicious. And Truex was on pit road right as the caution came out and was able to get out of pit lane before the leader came back around. So he basically got a free pit stop. I was thinking to myself, that may have won Truex the championship right there. And it almost did, to be honest. So Truex managed to get back off pit road before the leader came back around, so it was a huge break for Truex. Everyone who didn't pit before the caution pits under this caution. Hamlin wins the race off pit road this time, and Larson's pit crew didn't really have the best pit stops. So you have the 2 JGR guys up front with Hendrick trying to chase. Truex leads on the restart, and the problem for the Hendrick guys is that 2 Penske cars had also managed to come to pit road and do service. Actually, Logano actually got off pit road ahead of the Hendrick guys. Blaney was also on pit road, but managed to, like Truex, get out before the leader got around. So Blaney and Logano, the Penske boys, who got eliminated in the round of 8, were separating the Hendrick and the JGR cars at this point. Larson gets by Blaney for 4th as Elliott tries to challenge Hamlin for 2nd. And at this point, the JGR cars have pulled away from the Hendrick cars, and they had the long run speed. So at this point, it was looking like GG, JGR, and it looked like Truex was going to win his 2nd championship. But then, we have our 7th and final caution on lap 282 when David Starr blows a brake rotor and scatters brake rotor debris in the dog leg. And you can actually see pieces of the brake rotor on the racetrack. So it all goes down to the pit crew now to potentially win this championship. And we get what may have been one of the best pit stops in the history of NASCAR. Like, seriously. Everyone comes in for service, and Kyle Larson, despite coming in 4th, all the championship 4 guys were 1, 2, 3, 4. He was 4th out of everybody. His pit crew managed to get him off of pit road and get him out from 4th to the lead of the race. I think their pit stop was like an 11.8. Like, holy fucking shit, dude. And I think someone on the broadcast said that it was the second fastest pit stop of the entire year. Under pressure, trying to win a championship, and you pull out a pit stop like that? Like, holy shit, dude. Ice in their veins. So, that was a huge deal for that 5 crew. Larson wins the race off pit road, so big props to the 5 crew, and he even said afterwards, yeah, we won this race because the pit crew just absolutely did a phenomenal job on that final restart and got me out in the lead, and that won us the race and the championship. And people say NASCAR's not a team sport. Bullshit. So, as a result, Larson leads on the restart with 24 laps to go. It was not over by any stretch of the imagination, because it turned out that Truex and company had made some adjustments to help that 19 car come in a little bit quicker because of the short run that we were about to go through. Truex gets by Hamlin for second on the restart, while Elliott challenges Hamlin for third and actually takes it. And then Truex is able to catch up to Larson and tries to challenge him for the race lead, but Larson was able to hold him at bay at every single turn. Elliott tries to close on the front two. Hamlin fights back for third and actually takes it from Chase Elliott, but there was just 10 laps to go in this race. Hamlin starts catching Truex for the second position, but is running out of time. And then Truex, he starts making some big gains because with 2 to go, Larson had about a 6 to 7/10 of a second lead, and he had been basically holding steady, only giving up a 10th here and there or gaining a 10th here and there. So he was holding steady with Truex. But then Truex started making some big gains in those final 2 laps. And coming to the white flag, he was only about 4/10 of a second back of Larson. If Truex was close enough, he probably would have attempted the dive bomb that Hamrick did in the Xfinity race. But unfortunately, there was a lap car that was kind of in the way on that last lap. But I don't think Truex would have been able to get to him anyways. And Kyle Larson holds everybody at bay, gets out in the lead on this final restart thanks to his pit crew. He wins the season finale 500, his 10th win of the season. He has more than doubled his total in his career, and he wins his first NASCAR Cup Series championship and completes his redemption arc. In my opinion, it couldn't have been anybody else. With the kind of season that Larson was on and him trying to redeem himself after what happened a year and a half ago, it couldn't have been anybody but Larson. It couldn't have been. I would not have been satisfied with anybody else at that point. I mean, and I support Truex and Elliott to a certain degree, but let's be honest here. Larson, he was the star of the show. And he needed to win this race and win this championship. And it didn't look good. Before that final caution, it did not look good whatsoever. He was in 4th, dropping back. He was 3.5 seconds back of Truex, and it was looking like GG. And Truex was going to win his second title. But then that fateful caution came out, and that 5 crew, oh my God, that 5 crew absolutely did a phenomenal job and got Larson out when he needed it the most. And it won Kyle Larson the championship. Absolutely unbelievable finish to the season. So, with all that being said, statistics for this final race of the NASCAR Cup Series season in 2021. There were 18 overall lead changes in this race, with 6 pure lead changes, 7 caution flags, which was half as much as we saw at Martinsville, 1,947 green flag passes, which comes out to an average of 7.5 per lap on average. So, not bad. So, race results for the season finale 500. Kyle Larson, of course, with the win, won from pole. Truex Jr. comes home in second after starting 12th. Denny Hamlin comes home in third, once again coming up short in the championship. He finishes third and finishes third overall in the championship. Ryan Blaney was actually able to get by Chase Elliott and finish in fourth, which is right where he started. So Chase Elliott comes home at the back of the championship four, but he was pretty much a contender all race long. You know, it was just terrible luck with those last two cautions and not getting out in front when he needed to. But I would say that Elliott, I think, did a pretty damn good job, all things considered, in his first championship defense. Rest of the top 10, Aric Almirola comes home in the 6th position. I'm pretty sure he's happy with that considering the season he's had. Kyle Busch in 7th, Kevin Harvick in 8th, Christopher Bell in 9th, and Brad Keselowski, who actually shared a Miller Lite with his crew members, including bringing back the original cup, the glass that he used when he won the 2012 championship. Yeah, he brought that back, and they basically all shared a beer on pit road because this was Brad Keselowski's last race with Penske before he moves into his new venture with Roush, becoming an owner driver. So that was kind of an end of an era kind of thing too, when you think about it. So that was pretty cool. But that is your top 10 finishers for the season finale 500, which brings us to the final point standings, your final top 20, as it were. Of course, Kyle Larson with the championship. Of course, with the championship 4, points did not matter. It was where you finished in the race. Whoever finished in front of the others would be the champion, which Larson did. Truex was not that far behind. What was the final margin in this race? Because it wasn't that much. Like, it was super close. That's 2020. That's not what I wanted. Quit jumping around page. Margin of victory, 0.398 seconds. So 0.4 of a second was the margin between winning a championship and coming home in second in the championship. That's how close it was. 0.4 of a second. That was all it was. Unreal. But points wise, Larson officially wins the championship by 5 points, technically speaking. Hamlin 3rd, Chase Elliott 4th, and then you have the guys who were also in the playoff, who had been in the playoff. They were guaranteed to finish 5th through 16th, regardless of what happened. So, Harvick comes home 5th in the championship, despite the fact that he started 16th. Actually had a pretty solid playoff run, just wasn't good enough to get all the way to the championship, so he actually came home in 5th. Brad Keselowski in 6th. He actually came alive pretty good in the championship rounds. Once again, just came up short when it mattered. I mean, not by that much either. Ryan Blaney, man, if not for terrible luck at Kansas, he probably would have been in the championship 4, and who knows what would have happened at that point. Joey Logano 8th, Kyle Busch in 9th, and William Byron rounds out the top 10. And then the rest of the playoff guys, Kurt Busch in 11th, Christopher Bell in 12th, Tyler Reddick 13th, Alex Bowman 14th. Shows how inconsistent Alex Bowman was this year. I mean, he won 4 races, but he was also not much of a factor in this race either. And you have Aric Almirola in 15th, probably finished higher than he probably should have considering his season. And Michael McDowell was pretty much a non-factor, 16th. And then the rest of the field, 17th was Austin Dillon, Matt DiBenedetto 18th, Chris Buescher 19th, and Ross Chastain rounds out the top 20. But the star of the show, like I said, is Kyle Larson, the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion. The redemption arc is complete, folks. He went from the outhouse a year and a half ago to the penthouse here today. On this day, November 7th, 2021. Kyle Larson is your 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion. And well deserved. 10 wins on the season. I mean, what else can you say at this point? You can't really say anything else. And with all the things that we've been talking about, with a couple of teams with their last race, a driver possibly being in his last race, a crew chief in his last race, The Gen 6 era coming to a close. New car next year. I mean, this really did feel like an end of an era. And we're stepping foot in a brave new adventure with the Gen 7 car debuting at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum for the Clash in 2022, in February 2022. With all that being said, there's one final thing we need to do before we wrap things up for this 2021 season. My final rating for the season finale 500. Now, was this a barn burner by any stretch of the imagination? No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was complete trash either. That second stage was god awful. But I would say the beginning and the end really made this race stand out from the pack. And of course, when you had the drama of the championship, and it wasn't the shitty drama that like we've seen the last couple of weeks with title contenders taking each other out and all that other bullshit. No, it was a good kind of drama where you had all four guys racing each other hard, but racing each other clean to try to see who would be the best of the best. I mean, to me, that's the best part of a racing series, is when they're able to do that instead of just trying to wreck each other like we've been seeing a lot the last couple weeks. What do you want, shithead? Meow. Meow. What? These cats, man. No. 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 No, no. Freaking cat. But anyways, so, with that being said, my final rating for this race, I'm going to give it, I was kind of jumping back and forth as to whether or not I gave this a 6 or 7. All things considered, though, and considering the how good the championship battle was as well, for what it was, I'm going to give it a solid 7 on the fuel gauge. I think that's a fair score. Because like I said, that second stage was god-awful. And we probably had a few too many cautions for my taste, but, I mean, stages 1 and 3 were actually pretty good. And the crazy back and forth that we saw in this race, especially in the first and third stages, I think it definitely made this race a very enjoyable race to watch. Certainly better than some of the races that we've seen in the past, that's for damn sure. Could forget the 2019 edition of this race. Oh my god, that was god awful. Thankfully, this race was nowhere near that. It was actually enjoyable to watch. But that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. I was kind of hoping for some co-coms, but it doesn't look like anybody took me up with my offer. You know, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. I mean, everybody's probably busy anyways. I know Kyle, he said he would have wanted to come on and talk about it, but, you know, he was at Phoenix, so there was that. But this is going to be the last live review for 2021. There's still one more episode of The Field that's going to happen in December, but that's basically the debrief of the final 7 races for Formula 1, since, you know, I kind of lost interest in covering it. But I will do a debrief of basically the final third of the season and kind of put a cap on that. So that'll be about a month from now, though, since the Formula 1 season, this season doesn't end till December, so which is kind of crazy. But as far as live reviews go, this is going to be it until February 2022, when I will be covering the Clash. I know I didn't cover the Clash this year, but I will be doing it next year because I want to see what happens at the LA Coliseum. I want to see if it lives up to the billing. But wow, what a crazy season from start to finish. Probably the first season in quite a while where I didn't feel completely burnt out by the end of it. Unreal. But for those of you that did decide to watch my reviews, I mean, I know I don't get a whole lot of people watching, but for those of you that do, you know, give these videos a click and listen to me ramble on and give my opinion on shit, I do thank you for watching The Fuel this season. And I will see you next season for season 4. We will be doing live reviews once again. Hopefully next year we'll see a review where we'll actually get some co-coms for the first time. But we'll wait and see what happens with that. But for those of you that's basically watch these reviews in some way, shape, or form, thank you very much for watching. And until next season, this is the Packer Man signing out. And congratulations to Kyle Larson on a terrific championship season. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you in 2022. As this cat is laying on my hand now. You little shit. See you, everybody.
Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you rats!